right now we understand more and more the challenges that our kids are facing. We know, for example, that 20% of our kids are experiencing significant mental health problems that warrant social services. We know that 1 out of 6 kids in Canada live in poverty. We know that 7% of students in grades 7 to 12 reported attempting suicide at least once in the past 12 months. We know that 6 to 12% of kids tell us that they don't feel safe at school, a place that they're mandated by law to attend. And we know that 8 to 10% of kids on average tell us that they're bullied and harassed by peers on a regular basis. That's every week, every day, many times a day.
5 fois par jour, 25 fois dans une semaine, 100 fois dans un mois et près de 1000 fois dans une année scolaire où l'élève met les pieds dans sa cour d'école. Si ce sont 1000 moments où ça va bien, où l'élève a du plaisir, où il joue bien, où il arrive à régler ses conflits, tout est parfait dans le meilleur des mondes. Mais s'il s'agit de 1000 moments où il est intimidé, bousculé, rejeté par ses pairs, il y a fort à parier que ça a une très grande incidence sur sa capacité de concentration en classe, sur ses apprentissages, sur sa réussite éducative.
We're talking about repeated behavior, okay? Because if I'm walking down the hallway and Biff shoves me into the lockers, right? He never did it before. He never does it again. It's not bullying, okay? It's assault. Biff should be punished, right? But it's not bullying. Because if it happens once, I'm going to be upset about it, and it's going to bother me, and I might, again, think about it that day or the next day, but it's going to blow over pretty quickly. If it happens many times, repeatedly, every day or every week or with some regularity, now everything changes.
If any of you have ever been recruited by a bully, it's the most frightening thing in the world. Because right now, most of our kids know that if I join in, I'm part of the problem, but if I pull out, I could become the next victim. They are so sensitive to slight, but they can't say, well, no, it's not that girl who looked at me funny. It was that my dad didn't come on the weekend to take care of me. My dad didn't show up. They feel slighted by their father, but they can't talk about that because that makes them feel too vulnerable, and so they will notice the slights everywhere else. So these kids are basically walking time bombs. Somebody in the school's eyes have to light up when that child comes into the school, and hopefully when that child's world is falling apart, they will have an adult that they can turn to.
First, you teach kids that there's always another way to solve the problem. There's always multiple options before you start getting into the consequences. So several lessons are devoted usually to what else could you do, what else could you do, what else could you do, to get the idea that you can think of other ways to do it. Then you start evaluating the consequences. Well, what happens if you do X? What happens if you do Y? And eventually you get to kids actually understanding how to think through what to do in a problem situation.
C'est un exercice de tolérance, d'acceptation de l'autre, mais au-delà de l'autre, de ses idées aussi. C'est un exercice d'apprentissage de la liberté d'expression et de penser. C'est un exercice qui va nécessairement influencer de façon constructive, positive, les relations entre les élèves, mais les relations entre l'adulte et les élèves aussi.
It's all about relationships, and that we call it virtual supervision, and it has nothing to do with technology. This idea that if I have a positive relationship with somebody, I value that person, I care about that person, I know that person cares about me, and that person has expressed to me, has told me that bullying is bad or cyberbullying is bad, then I'm not going to do it. Even if I'm not around them, even if they're not directly supervising me, I'm not going to do it. So I know my mom would not like it if she knew that I was cyberbullying someone. And so I'm in a situation now where I could say something mean online. My mom's not around, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to disappoint her if she would find out about it. It's this virtual supervision. So it's the same thing with schools. As educators, you have that power as well. If you talk with your students about these inappropriate things and they know you wouldn't appreciate it, then they're not going to do it. There's so much of an effort focused on formal punishment and passing laws and arrest. But what's more powerful among teens is harnessing the power of that relationship.
Il y en a d'autres qui vont dire, OK, c'est vrai que Normand, peut-être qu'il t'a déçu, peut-être que ça te fait de la peine l'autre jour quand il agit de telle façon. Peut-être qu'effectivement, quand il joue au bloc, il a tendance à garder beaucoup de blocs pour lui puis il ne veut pas beaucoup partager. Mais, tu sais, Normand, moi, j'ai confiance là, qu'il va être capable de partager davantage. Si on lui donne la chance, puis on lui fait confiance, puis qu'on l'aide, là, moi, je pense que ça peut devenir un de nos élèves qui va être le plus généreux d'ici la fin de l'année. l'enseignant donne le ton, donne la direction, indique de quelle façon on doit se conduire.
What's the environment in which children grow up? What's affecting them on a day-to-day basis? Well, it's the relationships that they grow up in. It's the quality of those relationships and their sense of belonging, their sense of value, their sense of safety and security. But also, relationships help them buffer stress and don't cause additional stress. A healthy relationship doesn't make a child's life more stressful.
Moi, je suis à la recherche vraiment d'outils. Qu'est-ce que je peux faire? Puis comment je peux interagir avec les filles? Puis comment outiller aussi les enseignants qui travaillent avec ces enfants-là.
I've done my fair share of trying to intervene in these situations when schools have called us in, and it's not always successful as an outsider, to try to come in to a school and do an intervention.
Coming in from the outside, it's just as hard if you're on the inside doing it, because how to even do a group without it turning into sort of a bitching session about one another.
Pour les enfants, je trouve qu'on devrait être un modèle. T'sais, chaque adulte devrait être un modèle d'empathie pour les enfants.
Oui, l'empathie, le respect.
Tu peux avoir les plus vieux aussi, tu leur montres comment le faire et puis après, ils le font avec les jeunes. Donc, la relation entre les pères aussi, le message est encore plus facile comme ça. Donc, tu crées des habiletés dans les enfants qui sont plus vieux, qui en ont besoin.
Mais moi, c'est ma cour Un monde de plaisir, là, avec les animateurs, médiateurs, les plus vieux qui viennent aider à la résolution de conflits, tout ça. Mais moi, c'est vraiment plus au niveau de l'enfant comme tel. Ouais.
Dès qu'on est assis, on est au même niveau des jeunes. Puis ça devient un petit peu plus comme like a football huddle, you know. When you're communicating closely with kids, they feel like you're listening to them. It's more active listening if you're down at their level.
Moi, les participants à mes recherches le témoignent ça systématiquement. Et quand on leur demande qu'est-ce qui contribue le plus, dans tout ce qu'on vous a offert, qu'est-ce qui a le plus contribué à votre développement professionnel, les échanges avec les pairs, ça vient dans les éléments qui ont le plus contribué.
Ce qui a le plus d'effet sur les enfants, c'est le prof. Puis comment le prof va enseigner, puis quelle attitude qu'il va avoir et tout ça. Fait que c'est comme à un moment donné, il faut le redire. Ça aussi, je pense, d'ailleurs, aux enseignants.
Si on repense à nos études à nous, c'est des profs, c'est des gens, c'est des individus. Il y en a qui ont marqué,
c'est pas ceux qui nous ont donné les plus grosses punitions, qui nous ont... c'est vrai, c'est intéressant de ramener ça. Moi, je veux comme idée de réflexion.
There's one thing I want us all to agree upon here today as caring individuals, we care about kids, right? It's that it's all of our responsibilities to do something. Okay? Everybody in here has an obligation, whether it's moral, ethical, legal, obligation to do something. Even if it's as simple as saying, I'm not entirely sure what I can do here, but I'm on your side. I stand with you because this is wrong, okay? Because it is wrong. Everybody agrees that this is wrong. So a lot of times the person being targeted just feels so alone and feels like it's them against the world.
It's not about just fixing the children. It's about changing a school system and building a climate where everyone feels they belong, and where truly the teachers and the principal show leadership around this. And it comes down to policy, but it comes down, in fact, to how everyone in the school relates, because that's in fact what school climate is. It's the sum of relationships in a school.
Pour moi, le programme est un prétexte pour amener du changement. Et là où les activités promues par le programme se sont maintenues le plus longtemps, dans mon expérience de chercheur, c'est des milieux où, à un moment donné, ils ont non seulement intégré les pratiques, le contenu du programme aux pratiques déjà existantes, mais jusqu'à un certain point, ils ont comme mis de côté le programme parce qu'ils avaient intégré dans leur pratique de tous les jours. Alors, c'est cette réflexion-là qu'il faut avoir par rapport à un programme, par rapport à des interventions. Il faut bien comprendre son milieu.
But the bottom line is we have an opportunity, and perhaps we actually have an obligation to work with the next generation to make this world a better place. And I leave you with the words of a young girl who was victimized through most of her educational career. And she gave me this conclusion. I told her I had to go and I had to finish up a talk. She goes, I'll give you an ending. And this is the ending she wrote. In conclusion, there is no conclusion to what children who are bullied live with. They take it home with them at night. It lives inside of them and it eats away at them. It never ends. So neither should our struggle to end it. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you for listening. Thanks.